Hey everybody, this is Paul Yokobitis from Cary Estate Planning, back with another video as part of our 2020 challenge. And today I want to talk about promissory notes and what happens after you're gone. So if you are the owner of or the beneficial interest owner of a promissory note, meaning somebody is paying you installment payments under a debt obligation called a promissory note, it helps to think through what would happen to that beneficial interest if something happened to you. And so we sometimes will see clients who sold a business or who sold real estate, and they're receiving installment payments under a long-term mortgage or promissory note. And usually these sorts of tools, these sorts of instruments don't set out what happens to that payment obligation if something happens to you, if you pass away. And so the default is usually that this is a beneficial interest that would pass to your estate, and these sorts of installment payments would instead have to be paid to your executor or to your administrator under the estate. And so some of the time when we're looking over the circumstances and worksheet and discovery information that clients will send to us prior to their consultation, we ask about any debts that may be owed to you and the nature of those debts, and to provide any sort of promissory notes that may evidence those debts. And the reason for that is so that we can plan accordingly to make sure that your estate doesn't have to stay open to receive these installment note payments for potentially months or years. If you think about the ramifications of like a buy-sell agreement after you pass away, maybe one of your partners in a business may be obligated to buy out your interest and make those payments over a series of 5 to 10 years. It's something akin to like seller financing. Those payments usually, without any other provisions to the contrary, would have to be made to your estate. So the estate would have to stay open until all of the note payments have been made and are completed. So what we'll do sometimes is, if we're already otherwise doing trust-based planning, or if it makes sense for that reason alone to do trust-based planning, we'll create an assignment of the note's interest, or the interest under the note, to the trust, to make sure that if something happens to you prior to the note expiring or all the payments being made under the note, whether this is just a debt obligation generally or like a buy-sell agreement that creates a promissory note, we're making sure that the payments are instead being paid to a trustee outside of the scope of the estate, to make sure that the estate doesn't have to stay open any longer than it has to, for any otherwise, asset succession, debt settlement, estate settlement, like car titles or personal property, those sort of things. So that's just part of good comprehensive estate planning, is really thinking through the logistics of wealth succession, interest succession, generally, not just assets, but also, income streams, debt obligations, those sort of things. So if you've got something like this going on, maybe an installment note where you're receiving the installment payments, and you're trying to determine how to best remedy that or plug it into your estate planning, succession strategy, click the link below and we can talk about what that would look like for you. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comment box below. This is Paul from Cary Estate Planning.